Hello and welcome back. We are four struggling filmmakers. We've been slightly away because Noah broke his laptop, but my name is Emma, and joining me back again for more fun and episodes on film, we have James.
Hello.
Jimmy.
Hi.
And the reason why we had to have a slight break, Noah.
Hi.
We hope you've all enjoyed the Tokyo 2020 delayed Olympics. We thought we would jump in and not sports movies, because some of us apparently think sports movies are boring.
They are.
But we are
for
going to do
Rocky 4.
Yeah, we're going to do
Just the fourth one.
Asian Cinema Week. We've each
Sure.
watched a film from the confines of Asia. You'll see that we haven't gone particularly too far into Asia. But yeah, we're a little celebration of some of our favourite Asian cinema films. Now, you've got a bit of a cult classic for us, haven't you, James?
Yeah, sure, but recommendations first, please.
I forgot we did that. Okay.
Do we have anything to recommend though, seriously, or is it just going to be James?
Well, I think me and James do.
Well.
Have you guys been to the cinema again together?
Oh, yeah.
Let me guess. Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
You know it.
Was it good?
it was good. It was flawed, but it was good.
Solid, but not special.
Better
yeah.
than the first?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Leagues. Leagues above. It had some cool directing sequences that I thought were pretty neat.
It actually knew what to do with its characters most of the time. Oh, Ratcatcher too. That young woman is going to have a bright career ahead of her. The actress,
What's a young
she
woman?
nailed it. She was amazing. The film is a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
I think we both have given it a 6. I think, or did we give it a 6?
I literally just changed it today because I was just like, I appreciate the stuff it does different more than the stuff that I didn't like about it.
Okay.
So James Gunn hasn't saved cinema.
Nah.
Not
I don't
today.
think he was ever gonna save cinema, to be fair.
Of course he was.
Was that it? Did you have just the Suicide Squad?
I've been watching films. I like to recommend them. So I'm going to rattle off 3 things very quickly. I watched Phone Booth. I thought it was fantastic. I watched Last Black Man in San Francisco. I thought that was fantastic. And because I hadn't mentioned it over the weeks that I was watching it when we were releasing episodes, I watched all of Loki, and I thought that was really great, and I enjoyed it. So yeah, that's recommendations done.
Nice.
Fair enough. Which out of those 3, which is if you could only watch one, which is the top to go through?
Oh, that's difficult because I really like Phone Booth.
I thought
Last Black Man in San Francisco
Phone
is a
Booth.
better film. Phone Booth is so good. It's so good.
I've not seen that for
2
years.
minutes long. It's so short. It does so much in that time. And
It's.
I didn't even know it was Kiefer Sutherland until he turned up at the end.
I was going to say,
Oh my god, it was him. The whole time.
worse than that. It's post Batman and Robin, Joel Schumacher, or is it pre?
No, it's post, I think, because it's like 2000.
Yeah.
But it's like the presentation style of it actually works for the film. So no, actually, yeah, Phone Booth is better. Sorry, Lost Black Man in San Francisco, even though that is a very good film as well.
I've got something slightly different.
Ooh.
You may not enjoy this, you may not, but I have been enjoying it. It's something a little bit different. We're hopping into Disney Plus.
Yeah.
It's something that's definitely aimed for children, but brings back some nostalgia for me. So Monsters Inc. has a TV series. It's like 20-minute episodes, and it doesn't focus on Mike and Sully. They are in it, but they're not the main character. It focuses on this new character called Tyler, who has just finished Monsters University as a scarer, just as they're changing to their lovely laugh energy. And it's his journey from becoming a scarer to like whatever they call them, a comedian. And it's nice, it's good, it's funny, and I enjoy watching them. There's about 6 episodes up. They come out every week, and they're just 20 minutes long.
They've kept that really. I've not heard of this at all.
It's called Monsters at
I did
Work,
see
and
it.
it's really funny.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I saw it. I did watch a few trailers for it. I thought like, oh yeah, that looks all right. But Monsters Inc. is such a high bar to cross that I feel like I'll just be underwhelmed. Even though I really like Monsters
I
University.
was going to say they pulled it off
was cute.
once.
Yeah, but
I think it works because it focuses on a new character, and you get to learn more about this post obviously scary. You get to learn more about what happens next, which is I think a lot of the questions that people ask like, oh, they've changed to this new energy, what's next? And you kind of get to learn that.
Oh,
It's really sweet.
Yeah, it is.
I'm gonna cry.
Noah, did you have any recommendations?
I've mainly been on the Sopranos hype. Yo,
Yeah.
ahead of the film that's out next month with
What
James
season you on, though?
Gandolfini's son playing Tony Soprano. In terms of films, I watched a French-Canadian film called Mummy, which was really good. And I watched an Australian film called Picnic at the Hanging Rock, which is apparently a classic of Australian cinema. It's really good. It's quite creepy for a mid-70s Australian film. Directed by Peter Weir, who did
Oh, really?
Master and Commander.
And
the
come on,
Killers.
the best film ever made, Noah.
The Lego Movie.
No.
What would I think is the best film ever made?
Come on, Noah.
Truman Show.
Oh yeah.
I got there in the air. Yeah, definitely watch it, James, if you like
I'll give it a go.
him. Yeah, I recommend those two. And The Sopranos.
Right.
Which is nothing new, really.
On with the content.
So yes, on with the content indeed, Jimmy. We are jumping straight into a cult classic, aren't we?
Yes.
Let the games begin, James.
Japanese cult classic.
Royale.
Originally, I was going to pick Old Boy. Just thought I'd lay that out. I was going to have some South Korean cinema on here. And then I changed my mind last minute because I feel like when you go for Asian cinema, most people go for Old Boy because it's a cracking film. Like what you can do. Most people can talk endlessly about that film. And I wanted to try something a bit different. So I went for a film that I literally just watched on a whim because we were talking about Asian cinema. And I was like, this is one I haven't seen yet. And it literally just came on Amazon Prime. And I thought it was great. And it's called Battle Royale. And it's a 2000 film. It's directed by Kinji Fukasaku. And it was also written by his son, Kenta. And it's based on the novel by, I'm going to butcher some names, Kushin Takami. I've got a whole list of names that's going to be exciting to read. Just the basic premise, it follows a group of Japanese students who are brought to a remote island in the middle of nowhere, basically, and are just forced to kill each other one by one until it's the last person standing, and then they get to go free because the government doesn't like kids. Boo. It's not as cut and dry as that as well. It's got like a lot of different elements at play. You've got each student having a survival bag, and each bag is like a different weapon in it. So it's like a completely random grab bag of stuff, basically. Like one of them gets a crossbow, one of them gets like a hatchet, one of them gets, the main character gets a pot lid, and he has to deal with that for most of the film. There's also like various areas on the island that after a certain amount of time become danger areas because they got like bomb collars on. And if they stay in that area for too long, their heads explode, which is always nice.
So it's good.
Yeah,
it's a lot darker than the Hunger Games, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of
Western
comparisons you can draw to the Hunger Games because it's basically the same premise,
Well, the Hunger Games
but done way better because the Hunger Games is a bit shitty. Sorry. You've also got like two wildcard members, which are Kawada and Kiriyama, and one of them has done the spoilers, I guess. He's already done one of these battle royales before, and he was the last man standing. And Kiriyama was basically, he signed up just to kill some people because he wanted to. So he's involved as well. I also think that this film manages to be really, really funny while still keeping the stakes high, which I feel is very difficult because when you see like one of the iconic bits of this film is the first kill where the main villain of the film is their old teacher who basically is like, I'm in charge of you guys and you're going to kill each other. I'm going to explain it all. And I'm just going to be watching over you.
Takeshi Kitano, isn't it?
Takeshi Kitano. Titular of Takeshi's Castle. Yeah, he's got many things on Kitano, hasn't he? He's called Kitano as well, which is his last name. So
I think his nickname is Beat Takeshi Kitano.
But yeah, one of the iconic kills of the film is like the first one where he's got like the knife and he like full on throws it at this girl's head. It's like bang, like that, just out of nowhere because she couldn't stop talking. And just from the way it plays out, it's so funny. because it's so out of nowhere, and it's just like, oh, okay, we're doing this.
A lot of love stories, aren't there, James?
Yeah, there's another thing I commend this film for is it follows so many different people, because it's like 40 odd, if I remember correctly, students that they're trying to follow. But it never feels overwhelming, because it only focuses on the ones that you need to follow on. Whenever someone dies, there's text telling you these are the people who have died and how they've died. Sometimes you get to see it, sometimes it's off screen, sometimes it's on screen. Sometimes it's very sad and somber, and sometimes it's really goofy and ridiculous. And it also provides a range of like personality clashes throughout the film. You've got some like real sick fucks who just want to kill for just the sake of it, and you've got these school children who are school children, and they are got their own cliques. And the one thing that stands out to me, it was the lighthouse scene, whereas like all these girls who basically just like they've got their own like archetypes in that thing, and one of them tries to poison one of the characters and accidentally gives the food to the wrong person, and then it goes from like, oh yeah, we're all friends, to like a paranoid, like you're trying to kill this person, and then they'll die. It's insane. And then the person who did actually poison the food jumps off the lighthouse as well. A lot of the conflict of the film is Kitano resigned because this one kid stabbed him, and I think he held a grudge from that, and kind of not necessarily said these are the people we're picking because it was at random, but he was kind of glad that, because one of the first kills of the film is the kid that, you know, stabbed him. He just sets off a bomb collar just to prove a point. It's just like, oh yeah, this is what happens, and it goes.
It doesn't shy away from the gore, does it?
No, it doesn't.
No.
It's so gory. But the gore in this film doesn't shy away from, you know, the goriness of it, and it's just really, it's dark. It's funny. They somehow chop off a kid's head, stick a grenade in it, and throw it through a window. That's a great bit. There's so many great bits in this film. Like, I think my favorite bit of the film, which is like a major spoiler. So if you don't want to listen to this, leave now. But you know, you've gotten this far, so what's the point? Is the death of Kitano, who basically the main two characters, which are Nanahara and Nakagawa, and Kyoda, who was the one who did it before. They're the last three people who managed to get out, but they managed to get their bomb collars off, and they go up to the main facility where Kitano is at, and they're almost getting kidnapped. You're like, oh no, what's going to happen? And then they shoot him, and then he's dead. And then he just gets up, eats some cookies, has a phone call, and dies again. Like it didn't even happen. And I just found that so funny that he just like brushes it off like it was nothing for like a solid minute. And he was like, oh wait, no, I'm dead. Ugh.
What does he say on the phone call? I can't remember.
I think he's talking to his kid.
I was going to say, it's like some really nonchalant conversation.
Yeah. And then he's like, oh yeah, these cookies are good. Oh.
I think that just summarizes the complete like ridiculousness of the film, really, doesn't it?
It's very Kinji Fukusake.
I think it's interesting to note when you're talking about the gore that it was rated R15 plus, which is actually really rare in Japan. Apparently they don't normally rate things very highly. I don't know whether it's just cultural, but it's quite interesting that this rated so highly, but then still became the highest grossing Japanese language film for 6 weeks. Like it stayed there for 6 weeks after its release. So it's interesting.
It became a like cultural phenomenon, really, now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So Battle Royale,
Battle Royale,
Fortnite, PUBG,
yeah,
all these games.
Yeah, thanks,
Battle Royale, because of course Battle Royale was a thing before those games came out.
Yeah,
but like
the Battle Royale genre was sort of redefined because of this film. So because you've got like the danger zones and the last man standing aspect, and basically killing each other just to find out who's at the top. That's what this film kind of inspired.
Why do you think it's considered so influential?
Why is it considered?
Yeah, why do you think it is?
Yeah, James.
Oh, that's a loaded question for me, who's only seen it once.
I might have an answer.
No, you can take this one.
I guess it like. Do you think it's to do with like the tabooness of it, where like,
I think
like just kids going around killing each other is something you wouldn't ever want to like consider in any film.
And sort of
But
the silliness and then to it.
yeah,
It really trivializes it.
Trivialize.
It, doesn't it?
And I think that
It kind of does, yeah.
yeah, and I think that everyone kind of likes that because it's just something a bit different, maybe.
I think it is quite a turning point in Japanese cinema in a lot of ways. I think it's definitely the start of like I don't know what it's called, but almost like Japanese new wave. Shortly after that, Takashi Miike really starts churning out his ultra gory stuff, like Ichi the Killer and that sort of thing. And it does, I think, probably Emma, because it was so financially successful, while being so highly rated, it did really push the boundaries of what could be shown. So I think it's quite influential from that point of view as well.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd have a film like, I know it's not Japanese, but like I Saw the Devil. I think that it pushed the whole of Asian cinema towards this. It's almost shock. It's almost horror, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Kinda.
Because it's kind of like, I know we'll speak about this maybe more with Noah's film next, but like I don't want to obviously make a overwhelming sweeping statement, but like
Sure.
a lot of Japanese films are like the horror sort of genre.
Yeah.
And they do that quite well, I think. I think they do it better than like sometimes the Western cinema. I think Japanese horror can be so what's the word, like
visceral.
Yeah. They're not afraid of the taboo or the boundaries, really.
No, they do it with that dark sense of humor that I think a lot of Western films
It's quite jarring, isn't it?
don't have really.
Because with like a lot of Western horrors, like it's just like, oh, it's a ghost.
It's a lot of jump scares, isn't it?
Oh, it's a vampire. And that's it. There's barely anything else to it. But with Japanese horror, there's a lot of they use the medium to focus on a lot of their own issues and their own myth.
Oh, delve into that as well.
Like,
very cultural based.
Actually, so will I. In something that you might not suspect, but like I will come back to this when I talk about my film. But Japanese films do integrate their culture so much into their films, and there's so many like cultural references, and it's everything is there for a meaning as well. Everything is packed with like so much meaning, and it's not just there for their sake, where I think sometimes in Western cinema, especially like if we're talking about Hollywood or something, things are just there because, oh, it looks pretty. Whether I think where, like with some Asian cinema, it's more thought out. And I think especially with horror, if we're talking about Japanese horror, it adds that extra layer because it is so well thought out.
They really get it.
And obviously,
what we're trying to say, everybody, is Western people have no culture.
I think that the big thing for Japanese horror for me is that they know subtlety.
Yes.
Why every and I will make a sweeping statement, every American horror remake of a Japanese film does not work because they don't get it. Even The Ring, right? The remake of The Ring. Let's make it bigger and louder and in your face, and it's like.
But that's not what it is. Yeah, that's not why it's scary.
Precisely, they just don't get it.
I was going to mention Akira Kurosawa as well, because he was way back in the day during the first sort of new wave of Japanese cinema. Was very good at the subtlety in his like noir films in particular, like Drunken Angel.
Yeah.
What's that other one?
Stray Dog.
There we go. That's the one. Yeah. Or good comments on post-war Japan and people. I don't think a lot of the audiences even got it really as well, like Japanese audiences. But he was I think we know he's quite good. So
yeah, you're quite a big fan of Kurosawa, aren't you? Anyway.
Yeah. I've been blitzed through his filmography since lockdown. Really, when I got the BFI player, I thought, why not?
Why not?
He's got something for everyone, doesn't he? Because he covers such a wide range of stuff. Like a lot of people don't know that he even made basically film noir stuff.
Yeah.
But he had quite a run of it, and it is all very, very good stuff. From as early as like he really comes into his own in the 40s, I would say. Bringing
it back to Battle Royale. Anything else?
In the first sort of half of the film, or particularly when it starts getting to the Royale bit, I was like, what the hell is going on? If you've not watched much world cinema before and you're expecting a very Hollywood 3-act structure type thing, you're not going to get that.
Yeah, you got to kind of forget it. Like even, for example, the trailer, it feels like it's its own film as well because of how fast the trailer moves.
Yeah,
so.
it's quite jarring, like because the first two characters, because correct me if I'm wrong, and I could well be, but I think the first two people you see at the Battle Royale are these two kids who are in love with each other, and they like instantly kill themselves. I think that's like the first.
That is one of the things that happens
on the bus. They meet, isn't it? Well, they look at each other. Is that right?
I think, if I remember correctly, because I only watched this film like a week ago, the first kid that dies, other than the two in the classroom where the one gets a knife in the head and the best friend who like explodes.
Yeah.
There was a boy and a girl who did commit suicide together. It's like two of them jumped off of a
cliff, didn't they?
And then there's another two that hang themselves. But like the first one that dies outside of that classroom is the fat guy, because he gets scared, he drops his crossbow, and then this other guy picks it up, is like, "Do you not want this?" And he like pisses himself and runs away.
Oh really?
Yeah. No, he runs towards him and then he's like, "Oh shit!" Bang, and then he shoots him.
It has like similar like stereotypes to like your classic like American teen high school films, doesn't it?
Honestly, I think that works in its favor because it makes the character way more memorable. Because it's like, oh, that's the guy who was like that. That's the guy who was like that. Like there was another one who was the runner, and there was this weird like sweaty guy trying to rape her.
With such a huge cast of characters, you need the stereotypes to keep it grounded. Know where you are. Yeah, it should be called Not Another Team Battle Royale. Definitely.
On that very laboured joke. Do we move on, or James?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should dive a bit deeper into some Japanese horror.
Thank you, James, for that wonderful description of why you love Battle Royale. I will remain in Japan. However, I'm going back in time 3 years to a 1997 film called Cure. Now, it's got nothing to do with The Cure, the band. It's got nothing to do with a cure for any medicine or anything. I actually have no really idea why it's called Cure, but we can answer that in a minute. Anyway, this is a film by a guy called Kiyoshi Kurosawa, no relation to Akira Kurosawa, and it's a film about, well, it's a J-horror about a group of grisly murders sort of happening in the urban sort of city of Tokyo, and each murder has a different person accountable with no motive whatsoever. And the only thing that links these cases is a large bloody X carved into each of the victims' chest.
Isn't this the plot of The Exorcist 3?
No.
No.
It's very similar.
No.
It's like kind of like, I mean, it's a detective horror, so I mean that's kind of maybe loosely where I'm saying, but like Seven.
It's very, yeah.
Well,
Seven is incredibly similar.
The Exorcist 3.
So Seven came out 2 years prior to this, actually, as well.
So tell us more.
So it features a guy called Takabe. Well, his character's called Takabe, played by Koichi Yakusho. He's a pretty big name in Japanese films. I've actually seen him in Barbel as well with Brad Pitt, which is a bit of a random film to see. And he's in that 13 Assassins film. I don't know if anyone's seen that.
Yeah. Who's in
that? He is a detective who is assigned to the cases of the murders. What?
I said he was in 13 Assassins. And you said he's a detective, and I was like,
"Oh, right, oh, sorry."
Assassins, my friend.
Oh no, I can't. I saw it ages ago, but I think he plays the lead role.
Oh, okay, fair.
But in The Cure, he plays a guy called Takabe, who is a detective who is assigned to these murders, and he struggles a lot with his home life. He has a mentally ill wife, and that sort of affects him quite deeply. Whereas at work, he is really quite good. He's very good at his job. He's very professional. So there's a bit of contrast there between his detective persona and his home life persona. You've got and basically he gets deeper and deeper into these cases, and he starts to unravel a bit with his home life. However, as that happens, he gets quite close to finding out how these people are being killed. Should I don't really want to go into like the details on how it happens, because
please do.
I think this is quite a good mysterious film.
I think leave it then. Let the mystery be unraveled by people watching the film.
I really want to know.
Have you not seen it?
No.
Jimmy, watch the
No, I
film.
can't reveal it. It's like
I'll probably watch it at some point.
I really can't reveal it because it adds a lot if you don't want to know.
I'll have to get the Eureka Blu-ray. Is it?
Yeah, do that. But yeah, this kind of plays out as just sort of your basic at the start. I think it's kind of just like a basic police procedural film, and on the surface anyway, but it has sort of like psychological sort of notions with, people's brains and that. But then it kind of dives a bit deeper into sort of the ills of society, and it does. From what I understand, I know Japan is quite a sort of polite and well reserved sort of country, the way they behave, and I think it sort of like flips this on its head and sort of shows what maybe sort of like a deeper side to that society. It was quite good at that. I actually watched this twice. The first time, didn't do anything for me. I think I didn't really connect with Takabe, but I don't think he's a character you need to connect with necessarily now. But yeah, on a rewatch, absolutely loved it. I thought it was brilliant. I think the final 20 minutes or so, especially the final scene, is unbelievable. Like, it's such an incredible final scene. I won't delve too much into it because I don't want to reveal too much here. But yeah, it's a really good final scene. And if you do watch it, anyone, do let me know what you think of that bit. But yeah, this was like one of the most influential horrors of the 90s. I guess because it's part of the J horror sort of wave of like Kiyoshi Kurosawa, and then you had like Audition, Takashi Miike.
I think so. Miike, that's how I pronounce it.
Okay. And then you had The Ring, which I was all right with. Well, Ringu, I don't know what one you want to.
With Hiroyuki Sanada.
Yep. And they had that one, and then you had like The Grudge, which was a bit later, I know. But this became like the pioneer of like the that sort of J horror, and I think this film in particular was very popular and outside of Japan for being a genre film and an art film at the same time.
Yeah,
Jimmy.
It received very strong critical acclaim. Sorry, yeah, go Jimmy.
Where does the horror come in?
With the gruesome murder.
Wow. Again, I'm trying to.
You don't want to spoil it, I know, but I'm like, is it supernatural? Is it supernatural?
Wow. No. Well.
Don't.
I can't say too much, but you do. It really is horror. It really is.
Right.
Horror of the mind, horror of the senses.
Because you know me, Noah. I wouldn't say that like Silence of the Lambs or Seven is horror.
It's not.
No, it's thriller.
Yeah, they're both thriller.
But also just realised something
really
as well.
Go on.
About Jimmy as well, and what one of his pet peeves of films is.
What's that?
One of many.
I can't reveal.
I know, because I watched the trailer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What?
I can't say it. We can't say it. You'll have to do it.
I can't say I know what you mean.
No, why?
Keep them in the dark about it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Jimmy. I don't want people to know if they watch.
No, that's gonna mess me up.
And I don't want you. I want you to go and.
Oh, it's gonna have a stupid plot twist, isn't it?
No.
No, not necessarily that.
No,
but
it works incredibly well.
That we all know that you don't like. We're just
winding up Jimmy a little bit there. I'm a big fan of police procedural films. Originally, I was going to pick The High and Low, which is Akira Kurosawa procedural film. And then this obviously has a darker, sinister side to it, which I love as well. because I love Seven and movies kind of like that. Kind of like the Zodiac takes a lot from this, I'd say as well.
Oh, yeah.
David Fincher's The Zodiac definitely
Yeah.
got a bit to that. It's really good at making Tokyo look really sort of. 'Cause Tokyo always looks quite amazing, doesn't it? Really.
Yeah, really bright, really like
And this is
lively.
really like sort of dark and dingy and quite dirty, really, like with its
It's-
alleyways.
So as you were saying, like you quite like police procedural films. I think a lot of films are sort of starting to take this detective, like a lot of horror films are taking the detective angle. Like obviously we've recently seen the Book of Saw change Saw on its head and from the police point of view. Do you think, especially with J horror, it works? It's the same, worse, or better that it's a detective story, or do you think if it was just like the murders with this shrouded mysterious creature, if you kind of get what I'm getting on about, it would be more scary?
I think this works because the main character, the detective, it really like, well, the way it balances his personal life with what's going on, really just like they really complement each other, which because like I said when I first watched it, I wasn't really interested in him, so I was kind of like wanted to know more about like who's the murderer, why is it happening. But I think when you watch it again, you realize that he is like half of his like life is like half of the reason why this film's actually like within the film, the character is really good. It can really work though, can't it?
Well,
Like Seven really works, I think, the way he torments Brad Pitt's life.
I have a tangent point that
Ooh.
probably won't stay in, but just because I watched it last night and Noah made me. High and Low, the first half isn't necessarily as focused on the police investigation angle, and I think that's the better half. Whereas the second half is literally just them finding out where the guy is for like an hour and 20 minutes. And it's not that it's not interesting, it's just like a big step down from the first half, because it's just becomes like a lot of, it's just step by step.
Yeah.
Whereas how do we find out where he is? Oh, he's here because of this. And why is he there because of that? Oh, and here's the place. And here's the next place. And then we continue on to this next bit. And then we find out where he is. Even
I
though
find that bit exciting
just
though.
Yeah, it's not exciting. I'm not saying it's intriguing, and it definitely kept my interest, but it was not exciting. I wouldn't use that term for that film.
All right. Thanks for letting me talk, everyone. Obviously, I didn't go too much into the plot because it's best left unsaid. But yeah, brilliant film. A Japanese horror done right. Well, just a horror in general done right. My personal favourite. So there we go.
So go away and watch it, and let Noah know in the comments below what you think.
And also let us know in the comments below what the hell my pet peeve is.
We're hopping countries now, aren't we?
To Indonesia, right?
So funny story. Right? So we all obviously tell each other what film we're picking, but there seems to have been a bit of a loss in translation. And the film I thought Jimmy picked was a completely different film. So basically, I researched a film called The Killers, 2014 film by the Mo brothers. It's a co-production between Indonesia and Japan. So again, it's
the Mo brothers.
They're an Indonesian director duo, and it was basically about a Japanese executive who is like a really nice guy, and but he's also a serial killer, and he like videotapes it and puts it online. So kind of like what's that film I'm thinking of? American Psycho. Basically, Asian American Psycho. But that isn't
Asian Psycho.
that isn't what we're talking about, is it, Jimmy?
No, not even slightly. That is really interesting though. It sounds like quite a good film. No, we're gonna shift country. We're gonna go to Hong Kong. It was a changing decade. Forget the 90s, kids. Let's go back to the wonderful time of excess, of Ultravox, of big shoulder pads and flary trousers. It's the 1980s, kids. It's 1989, and John Woo has just released his second really great film, The Killer. So I've picked John Woo's The Killer, which is about obviously it's Cho Yun Fat because John
Spuds.
Woo loved the kid at this time. You can see why. He's a very good looking chap who is a hitman who starts off doing a job. He's got to kill this man in this nightclub. And as he walks in, very important detail, he locks eyes with the singer at the club, whose name is Jenny. Very, very,
Very
very Hong Kong. And he walks past her, goes in the other room, starts shooting these guys. We have this amazing John Woo style heroic bloodshed, the name of the genre, double gunplay. But then Jenny panics, as most people would if shooting started happening during your nightclub routine, and she runs in front of Cho Yun Fat, who's like, no, and like tries to pull her out the way. This ends up getting him shot a couple of times, and then someone else is going to shoot him, and he pulls his gun across, and he pulls the trigger right in front of her eyes, and he blinds her. Blood goes everywhere, and he gets his little scarf out because he feels bad, and he wraps it around her eyes, and he's like, "You're going to be fine, Jenny," but she's not fine. Her corneas are absolutely fudged up. They're really badly gone. So very slowly over the next few months, she's going to go totally blind. And Cho Yun Fat, the assassin with a heart, feels really bad about this. So he ends up befriending Jenny, who obviously doesn't recognize him as the guy who blinded her because she's blind. And slowly he basically decides to do one last job, one last high-paying hit for the Triads in order to get her enough money to get this new operation for her eyes, which is very similar to the plot of a 1950s Douglas Sirk film, because I always find a way to mention Douglas Sirk, called Magnificent Obsession. Except that's played as a rom-com. This is like hardcore action crime stuff. And on the flip side, we also have the point of view of anyone?
The other guy.
Anyone know what the character's called?
Detective.
Inspector Lee, wasn't it?
Inspector Lee, thank you, Noah. Someone was paying attention.
Love Inspector Lee in his suit.
I saw the wrong film, so
Dumbo.
Yeah, we're all doing really well this Monday morning. I've been out already the past 2 days. I ain't feeling too great. And so, what the hell was I talking about? Oh yeah, Inspector Lee is this cop who doesn't mind breaking the rules a little bit if it means getting results, and he wants to find out who this assassin is, and basically he's on Cho Yun Fat, who's called Ajong. He's on his trail. And so we get this interplay between these two guys, and slowly throughout the film, they kind of have some interaction with each other, including an amazing scene, honestly, one of the best scenes ever in the film, where the detective and Ajong are pointing guns at each other in Jenny's room, but they're trying not to let on that something's wrong. So they're both having like a normal conversation while passing these guns around and like pointing them at each other and stuff. It's amazingly well put together. Well done, John Woo. And in the end, the Inspector Lee and Ajong realise maybe they're not so different. And of course, it ends up in a church with doves flying around, and like 1 million people get shot. And then you'll have to watch it to find out: does she get the operation? Does Ajong turn himself into the cops? Does the cop arrest him, or what? You might be surprised. But
I like how both of your films you've been really vague with the details, and with my one I was like, oh yeah, this person dies, that person dies at the end.
I think that can be about, because everyone knows that Battle Royale, they just die. So
yeah, like that is the name of the game.
It ain't called Peace Loving Royale. But yeah, the thing about the killer that really, but there's a few things that really elevate it. But it's John Woo working with a much bigger budget than he ever would have worked with before. Like compared to A Better Tomorrow, you can see that the step up in production values is quite stunning. The action sequences are unbelievably well put together. Stunts are amazing, well choreographed. All practical effects work. So all the squibs instead of any CGI bollocks blood. So it looks absolutely fantastic. But the thing that really sets it apart is that the human story actually really hits home. It is actually very, very deep and emotional and well thought out. And look, kids, if any of you are screenwriters out there or aspiring little screenwriters who wanna make your mark in the world someday, if you haven't mastered the art of writing subtext, as 95% of screenwriters, including myself, really haven't, because it's bloody difficult, but really a great thing to do. Watch this film, because like every conversation between Ajong and Jenny, or Ajong and Inspector Lee, is how much can we talk about what we mean without saying it, and it's beautiful for it. Particularly the aforementioned scene where it's like a Mexican standoff and they can't reveal anything. They're talking about how they make up this brilliant lie. One calls one shrimp head and the other calls the other. What does he call Inspector Lee?
In the version I watched, it was Dumbo and Mickey Mouse.
Oh
Yeah.
no! You watched the badly subtitled American version.
Oh no!
Well, but was one of them called Jeff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So famously, the American release is known for being horrendously mistranslated and for giving people stupid names that have nothing to do with anything being said.
I still thought it was great. So
Mickey and Dumbo.
Yeah.
At least he watched the right film.
At least he watched the right film. We've all struggled this week. Let's be honest.
Apparently there's other dubbed and subtitles where his nickname is Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, that's
Butthead.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Butthead.
Butthead is one as well.
And I can't remember what he calls in the actual film. That's Shrimp Head and
Yeah, there's Shrimp Head.
which is what Cho Yun Fat is called.
Yeah.
Because Inspector Lee never finds out his name. He's like, "You've got to tell me your name." And he's like, "Just call me Shrimp Head." Anyway, that whole conversation, they're talking about being like football buddies or something, which they obviously weren't. But it's all like, "Oh, I never could quite catch." And he's like, "Yeah, maybe your luck will change." Stuff like that sort of thing. It's just really, really amazing dialogue.
That's about it, really. Anybody else?
Apparently, this was the first time we saw the recurring motive of white doves in the John Woo films.
Very prominent in this film.
And it was the first time.
Symbolizing redemption. In fact, there's a few interesting things about that, because everyone was like, why is so much of it set in a church, John Woo? And John Woo dedicates The Killer to Martin Scorsese, because John Woo was a very big fan of Mean Streets, which has some similarities with this film, not massive lot, but there's a big thing about how much religion and bad people can be redeemed spiritually through like God and stuff. That's quite a big subtext in this film. Redemption in general, but so he dedicated this film to Scorsese because Mean Streets is all about Catholic redemption. John Woo is far more interested in the line between criminals and cops, and also honor amongst thieves. I don't know why, but he loves redemption and heroism amongst criminals, and sort of the respect of it all, which he got in big trouble for, because he's known for like glorifying the triads basically. Much the way the Japanese kind of did in the 70s with people like Kinji Fukasaku, with battles without honor and humanity.
That's interesting that they vilified them for that. Well, glorified. Well, they said they glorified it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anyone in the West thinks that The Godfather glorifies mafia or anything. And like, no one thinks Martin Scorsese glorifies gangsters.
Yeah, they do.
Do they? They're a very small portion, I think.
Goodfellas, and I think he has had a lot of stick for it for Goodfellas and Casino in particular, because he does make the life look very flashy and rewarding.
Lavish, isn't it?
Very lavish, yeah. I think Scorsese and I think John Woo sees a lot of parallels with him and Scorsese, because they both did a lot in the crime genre, particularly with their version of the mafia. What the hell was I talking about? But within their own
You're
culture.
talking about glorifying.
Yeah. They I think they've both had similar sort of criticism thrown at them.
This isn't a dig at the film, but I feel like it's a film that was made to be watched on a VHS tape.
I know what you mean.
It's got that vibe.
That's not an insult.
Yeah.
To be fair, on the DVD I watched, it didn't look much better than a VHS.
Nah.
Digitally remastered, my ass.
But genuinely, it has just that vibe throughout, and it was just so much fun. Like barely like an ounce of fat on that film as well. It's just so bam. Kind of similar to Battle Royale. It never really stops.
Yeah,
It's going constantly.
very fast paced.
The ending's a bit like, oh dang.
I will say,
especially with like some of the makeup at the ending as well. It's just all
it suddenly gets really gruesome and really horrible.
Yeah.
I will say, original ending from the script, much happier. The singer woman, whose name really annoyingly I can't remember, her scheduling got
Jenny.
up at the end. Yeah, Jenny. I was trying to remember the actress's name. Her schedule, she got a massive schedule conflict at the end, so she was like, "Yeah, I can't do the ending," and they were like, "Fine, we'll just change it." So I don't want to spoil it. It ends with a harmonica.
Should we hop back to Japan?
Shall we light it up a bit?
Final film.
Hop back to Japan.
So I'm going last because even though mine is a Japanese film, it's very different to the 3 films we've had before. I thought that we couldn't do an Asian cinema week without touching on some anime. When you think of like Asia and sort of more prominent in Japan, anime is so big there.
Kawaii.
Yeah, we kind of had to touch on it a bit. So I've chosen My Neighbor Totoro.
Oh yes,
Which is a 1988 Japanese animated, obviously because it's anime, fantasy film written and directed by Hayao
Miyazaki.
Miyazaki.
And it's a Studio Ghibli film. So for those of you who don't know what Studio, it's not Ghibli, is it Studio Ghibli?
It's not Ghibli or Ghibli. It's the same thing.
It's like GIF versus GIF. You've got it right. It's just
Ghibli. I always said Ghibli.
So Studio
Ghibli
it's basically an animation studio.
I never heard Ghibli.
It's a Japanese animation studio based in Tokyo, and it's best known for its animated feature films, and as well as having several short films, television commercials, and one film made for television. The mascot is actually the titular character Totoro from My Neighbor Totoro, and he's basically just a giant cat-like spirit. That's it. So some of their popular films and most highest grossing is 2001's Away, 2004's Howl's Moving Castle.
I think you mean Spirited Away.
Spirited Away. Somewhere else. And I was going to do this one. I was going to do Ponyo, is that how you say it?
Ponyo. Is that Studio Ghibli?
Yeah.
I thought that was Western for some reason.
Nice.
Nah.
I must have seen the dub. I've seen the dub.
So they've got a good backlog, and I'm pretty sure they're on Netflix now.
Yeah,
all of them came on Netflix recently.
All of them. I thought they only had a couple.
I thought the whole studio.
It's most of them. I think there's a few that are omitted, and obviously we'll let Emma introduce the film and that. But
get excited.
We've been talking about dubs and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what's your stance when it comes to animated films?
Fine.
I think it's different because you can't. You can't see the length of the words, and it is different. But I also think that it being in Japanese is better.
Well, I disagree.
Fair enough. But anyway, so let me introduce the film. So basically it's the story of a professor, and it's their 2 young daughters whose names are Satsuki and Mei, and their interactions with friendly wood spirits and all that jazz in a 1950s post-war rural Japan. So again, we're moving out of the city and we're in rural Japan. So Mei basically finds this cove and meets Totoro and befriends him, and she falls asleep on him, and she gives him the name Totoro because he like growls and it sounds like that, and she's like, oh, that's your name. The film is like such a feel-good film, and it's like shrouded and like covered in this childhood innocence and imagination, and it feels so precious, and it's like a lovely like capture in time. But and it's these 2 girls, and their mother's in hospital, so they're dealing with that, and they get to run around the countryside basically, and Mei, the youngest one, finds this lovely like cat-like thing creature, and then her sister wants to find her but she can't, and then she does, and then there's like a bus that's a cat, and it's really cool, loads of imaginative different things in it, and it's just I don't know whenever I see it, it just makes you feel so good about yourself, doesn't it? Just feel good.
It's a great film to watch on a rainy day.
Exactly, it's colourful.
Beautiful.
It's so beautiful. It's innocent and it's appropriate for like all ages as well. However, it does, well, not however, I'll go into detail how it's a little bit more sinister than it seems on the surface, because as we were saying, Japanese films hold a lot of cultural references. So on the more innocent level, we see when May and I've forgotten her sister's name, move into the new house. May encounters the soot spirits before they move, and then she hangs around the soot spirits for a bit, and then they move on when they've properly moved into the house. Some believe that the soot spirits are rumoured to be seen before death in Japanese folklore, whereas others maintain it was just a fiction created by this film. But a lot of the cultural references and some of the things do surround the death element, and there is a theory that maybe May drowned whilst looking before she met Totoro, and then her sister goes ahead and dies looking for her. So there is a kind of a darker element to it. It's not a massive theory, but it's just one. But the biggest, more sinister parallel that can be drawn to the film is something known as the Samaya incident. And basically it was a murder case famous in Japan of a 16-year-old girl snatched, raped and murdered on her way home from school in the Samaya region of Japan. And basically it took place, and then the controversy was surrounding the suspect, who was eventually arrested and charged with 31 years in prison. But people think that maybe he was innocent, so there was this whole thing around it. And you might be thinking, oh, how does the murder, rape, arrest and whatnot relate to this film? And the first clue comes in the protagonist's name, May. So that was when this whole incident took place. Then there are numerous clues suggesting the film takes place in Samaya. The label on the tea shop, which says Samaya Tea, so they think that it's related to the place obviously it happened. And obviously the hospital's name, which translates almost exactly to hospital located in the city. So there's a couple of more sinister parallels to it, and how it was kind of bringing awareness to the incident and things like that. But that's quite a sinister thing on a very light.
We said we were going to end this on a lighter note.
So that's just one side of it. So basically the film, it won loads of awards. So it won the Anime Grand Prix prize and the Manchi Film Award, Kinema Junpa Award for Best Film, and also received a special award at the Blue Ribbon Awards. And it's become like such a cult classic. Like, I think everyone knows it, and even if you haven't seen the film, you know the character Totoro, because it's the mascot for Studio Ghibli. And yeah, it's grossed over $41 million worldwide at the box office as of September 2019, in addition to generating approximately $277 million from home video sales and $1.142 billion from licensed merchandise sales, adding up to approximately $1.46 billion in lifetime revenue.
What surprised me when I watched it is how good of a film it can be for a movie that has little to no conflict in it. There is like barely any throughout. Like the most I could say is like towards the end where one of the kids goes missing. But like even that's not like a major thing that happens. It's just like, oh, she's gone missing. Oh, she is, and then we're all happy again. And it's like
the major conflicts, obviously the mum is in hospital, but then she's fine by the end.
Yeah, but like in terms of like the plot, that's just more of like an element of it. It's not
I see what you mean. Yeah.
The main narrative thrust of the film is them just going off into this whimsical world of Totoro and his mates, just, you know, dotting about, making a big tree, you know, going on a cat bus.
The cat bus, I love the way it just appears as well.
Yeah, and then he's just waiting at the bus stop. He sort of rocks up.
And then he gets on his bus and then they get on their bus.
Bye. I think when anime's done well, when it actually is animated smoothly and is visually appealing and not just sort of jerky talking and that stuff is just like a complete turn off for me. But Ghibli's good. I like Ghibli.
I think I've said before, I just don't like animation. Nothing rational behind it. It sounds like a lovely film, but
it really is. It's like such a sweet little film. It's nothing that's too heavy. obviously it's got some more sinister behind it, but if you just watch the film,
Yeah.
you don't necessarily know that unless you know all the ins and outs from
That's
the.
more of
I
a-
just thought it was an interesting reference that could or
Yeah.
could not be part of it.
The cultural phenomenon behind Studio Ghibli in general, but definitely My Neighbor Totoro, is like absolutely massive. Like,
Yeah.
me and my sister have clearly never seen Totoro, and yet we'll be like, "It's Totoro!" When we're at a place where there is Totoro themed merchandise, which is like everywhere.
What
Well,
about you, Noah? What did you think of it?
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was pretty sweet, pretty cute.
Oh,
I think I prefer a couple more different sort of animes, especially Ghibli ones. I like the more grand and epic, adventurous ones like Castle in the Sky.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just personal
Yeah, I think-
preference because this is more of a cute little quiet
Yeah,
one.
it's not. There's no massive adventure. There's no massive plot. There's no dilemma. It is just a sweet film.
sounds really nice.
Yeah,
Good
it's
film.
lovely. But
Maybe-
Perfect Blue is the best anyway. So
Perfect Blue.
I just think it's a really sweet film, and if you're looking for something just to throw on and relax, as James said, you can put the English version on, so you don't have to read subtitles. I like the Japanese version because I think it makes it a bit more authentic, I suppose, and just sweeter. I just love listening to Japanese. To be fair, it's quite chill.
Nice language.
So yeah, you could just put it, just whack it on. English version is great if you've got kids and you just want something sweet and short. Netflix, whack it on, they'll love it. I think whilst we only really touched on like Hong Kong and Japanese cinema,
there's a lot more out there.
there is a lot more out there in terms of Asian cinema.
India.
Is there anything that you guys could just quick fire recommend?
What honourable mentions?
Yeah, on Asian cinema, honourable mentions.
The Handmaiden.
Yeah.
Old Boy, I guess, because I recommended it earlier.
The whole
Train
of
to
the
Busan, which I
Vengeance
remember-
trilogy.
Yeah,
I Saw the Devil.
I saw
I
the
saw
Devil.
the
If you want to be really basic, Parasite, but it's really good, so I can't fault it too much.
Parasite.
Memories of Murder. Another Bong Joon-ho.
So yeah, we obviously had only 4 picks. We couldn't do the whole of Asia. Hopefully giving you some other suggestions from around Asian cinema. If you've seen any of the films or you do go and see them, let us know your opinions. And we are looking for guests to enjoy on guest weeks. So, if you want to be on the podcast,
Jimmy's dad.
let us know. Just
Don't-
send us a
don't-
message.
Yeah.
Yeah, John Woo, if you're out there, if you're watching,
Give us a bell, man.
give us a
Anyone who'd like to give some final thoughts on this special episode, because with no quiz this week, they will be back hopefully next week.
No winners this time on Takeshi's Castle.
bell.
And on that note, we've been 4 Struggling Filmmakers. You guys continue to stay safe, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.
Bye bye.
Give peace a chance.
What do you think, Emma, of the film you totally watched?
I made a lot of notes, and it looks like I've
That's
seen it.
important. That's all that matters.
Harikiri. I'm going to do Harikiri now, actually. I changed my mind. I've never seen it, but.
You,
Joking.
I'm gonna do. I was like, what?